Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome back to the Norway Chess tournament in 2023. The tournament is now really heating up. Only two more rounds have to be played, so we'll see what will happen. Fabiano Caruana is of course the top favorite to win the whole thing. Fabi played so far the best chess, is now in the lead. If things don't change dramatically, Fabiano Caruana is the winner of this prestigious chess event for sure. So let's see now one beautiful spectacular game from the round 8. We have here Shakhriyar Mamedyarov against Magnus Carlsen. The game finished a couple minutes ago. It was the Armageddon game. Both of them, Mamedyarov and Carlsen, don't have of course any more chances to win this tournament, but still they're playing always aggressive, attractive, beautiful chess. Let's see now what happened. The Armageddon game was really spectacular. You know the grip. Shak has 10 minutes on the clock. Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces had 7 minutes on the clock. If the game ends with a draw, then Magnus Carlsen is the winner. So let's see now what happened. Shakhriyar Mamedyarov with the white pieces open with the move c4. Magnus' response was e5, the King's English opening. We have knight to c3, and now we have the so-called Shirov Kramnik variation. Bishop to b4, attacking now the knight immediately. g3, fianchetto variation. Bishop takes c3, exchange on c3 here, and after b takes c3, we have now the messed up double pawn structure as a compensation for the lost bishop here, bishop pair here by black. So in the game d6, bishop to g2, knight to c6, a4, expansion here on the queen side, trying a5 and a6, undermining a little bit the protection of the knight on c6, and then getting use of this long diagonal of the light square bishop. Knight from g to e7, we have a d3, bishop to e6. Now comes this idea, a5, and now queen to d7 here by Magnus Carlsen leaves of course black a certain flexibility to maybe also castle on both sides. So now Shak changes the direction of the attack. With the bishop pair, of course, you want to create dynamics like this. You can of course attack both sides on the board. f4, we have kingside castling. Now comes this idea, a6 by Shak, and now b6, now the line. Here we have the open diagonal for the light square bishop. So queen to a4, Shak continues the pressure against the knight on c6. Magnus connects now the rook to the queen. The queen is a little bit loose here, so that's why we have here really enormous pressure on this side of the board. So that's why Magnus keeps now the position compact with this beautiful defensive move. So f takes e5, knight to e5. Magnus simplifies the game by trading off the queens, and now the realistic goal for black is, I think, here to trade off the light square bishops, because the main strength of white is of course the bishop pair. So now Magnus is trying to solve this positional problems by trading off the bishops on c6. So knight to h3, bishop to c6, kingside castling. We have now the trades of pieces, and the only strength that I see now in white's position here is this enormous center that white has here. So when the pawns start to roll, there could be maybe some kind of an activity. Otherwise, I think black is equalized. The game has, I think, also great chances with the powerful knight to find active and good squares on the board. So rook from f to e8, we have a rook to a2, d5. Magnus breaks now in the center after c takes d5, knight to d5. Look at this, mission accomplished. I think both knights very active in the center of the board. c4 by Shak, knight to b4, attacking the rook, rook to a4, and now c5. Good move by Magnus, fixing simply the knights. When you have the knights like this on the board, then they have to be fixed. They have to be really cemented by pawns, and now they're really firm. Both of them are creating now also great tactical opportunities in the center of the board. Knight to f4, now knight to c6. Magnus is now trying to reroute the knight on d4. If you play e3, of course, to prevent it, then you leave your pawn on d3 unprotected. So basically, this whole maneuver is almost unstoppable by Magnus Carlsen. We should not forget about it. So in my opinion, this position is slightly easier to play here from black's perspective, because I think you will find easily your squares on the board. The bishop can maybe come here to beat you, but then it will be locked again with the move knight to d4. In the game, king to f2 was played by Shakhriyar, maybe even the main mistake now in the game. He wanted to somehow connect the king to the pawn on e2, but now Magnus takes over. He plays now the beautiful knight to d4, and from this point on, I think black is slightly better, especially because of the pressure around the square e2. Look at this. As we said, even if you play e3, kick away the knight, then the d3 is a long-term weakness. So we have now bishop to e3, and Magnus plays now the move of the day. Magnus pulled off the beautiful, beautiful tactical shot. The rook takes e3, sacrifice the rook for the exchange. That's the Magnus that we love to see. Beautiful, beautiful exchange sacrifice just in order to keep the pressure here. Look at this, the g5. The knight drops back here to d5. We have first rook to e8. Now rook takes e2. Really wild stuff. King to g1. Knight takes d3. So Magnus gained now 2 pawns and the knight as a great compensation for the lost rook, but has now this very, very powerful knight here in the center of the board. In some of these lines, you can also prepare some checkmate threats like g4, knight to f3, check, and then rook takes h2. For instance, after rook to a1 that Shakhriyar and Mamedyarov played, now Magnus prepares this move, g4, and many of us, I think, would play on this tactic, knight takes b6, but actually it's not working. Look at this. If you play, of course, a takes b6, then the pawn is rolling. But of course, we play first knight to f3, first the check. If the king drops back to h1, then we have this beautiful, beautiful checkmate pattern here on h2. Even if you play here rook takes f3, then we have here g takes f3. We don't want to take out this knight in any case, so that's why this pawn is rolling. You can maybe get the king closer, but now we pick up this one again. It's game over here for white. Really, really tricky ideas here by Magnus. So that's why after move g4, Shakhriyar and Mamedyarov didn't play knight takes b6, although it seems tempting because then you let the pawn roll. But as we saw, black doesn't have to react to this tactical shot. So that's why Shakhriyar and Mamedyarov retreated. Knight to f4, we have knight takes f4, rook to f4. We have now f5, and now Magnus is trying to cement the position further. Also opportunities are maybe to play h5, h4. We have rook to f2, rook to e4, king to rook to b2. Again with the same motif, trying rook takes b6 and maybe let the pawn roll here on the a file. So now king to f7. If you play rook takes b6 again, white doesn't have to react immediately after something like king to g2. Now we can take, and now after a couple of checks, now we can maybe here sacrifice the rook for a pawn, take out this one. It will be, I think still tough time here for white to win the game, especially because of the weakened c4 pawn. We would have here a 3 versus 1 pawn majority. Here we have a 2 versus 1 pawn majority. So maybe this was one of the opportunities for Mamedyarov, but it's still so complicated, and you have to calculate everything in such a fast time format. So that's why after move king to f7, Shakhriyar and Mamedyarov didn't want to risk anything. He played now first the move king to f2. Now comes knight to c6. Now Magnus realized the possibility of rook takes b6, retreated with the knight. We have rook to d1, and now king to e6. And here Magnus makes maybe the first mistake in the game, allows here maybe Shakhriyar and Mamedyarov even to take over, because here Magnus should have simply taken here the pawn on c4. If something like rook to d6 happens, then there is this defensive resource, knight to b4. If rook to d7 happens, then we get closer. You can maybe pick up this one, but now look at this, knight to d2, knight to d3, pardon me, would be a beautiful, beautiful fork. Magnus probably missed this idea in this fast time format. After rook to d1, he got the king closer. We have rook to e2, which forces now trades of rooks, and I think this is a good choice here for Shakhriyar and Mamedyarov to simplify the game by trading off this rooks. After rook to e2, king to e2, we have knight to b4. The knight is coming in a beautiful way into the game, and now rook to a1. And this was now again another mistake here by Shakhriyar and Mamedyarov. He missed his chances to get the king more active in the game. When you play an endgame, the king has to be used as a really, really active piece. So instead of this rook to a1 idea, king to e3 would have been much, much more accurate. Controlling e5, f4, d4 squares here, controlling your opponent's king in the position. If, of course, knight to a6 happens, you have time to play the move rook to a1. Now when the knight retreats, we will eventually take out the pawn. You don't have to attack the pawn immediately. You can play it in a more tactical way. So after move rook to a1, Magnus is the one that gets now the king closer. After king to d2, king to d4, look at this. Shakhriyar and Mamedyarov lost the battle in the center of the board between both of these kings, and now he makes even another blunder. Rook to f1, attacking basically the wrong pawn. That's the main issue. A better idea was to play rook to e1 after something like king to c4. Now you get behind this pawn here on the 7th rank. The main goal is to take out this one. Now it would be a very complicated game also here for black to handle, especially because of the pawn on a6. Maybe after knight to a6 we can pick up this one, then we can pick up this one, maybe then afterwards going with the rook behind the pawn, and maybe this would be also playable here for blacks. But after move rook to f1 that here Shakhriyar and Mamedyarov played, Magnus simply picks up the pawn. Shakhriyar and Mamedyarov picks up also now the pawn on f5. But it's a different story. Magnus has now two connected passers on the B and C file. So from this point on, it's a one-way ticket in black's favor. Supported with the knight here, the game is almost lost here for Shakhriyar and Mamedyarov. King to b3, rook to f7. Now this whole idea comes a little bit too slow. Magnus simply pushes the pawn further. You see, you took now the pawn, but the pawns are already advanced, already on the third rank. We have king to e2, we have king to b2. Magnus is preparing to push the pawn further. We have rook to c7, knight takes a6, first attacking the rook, rook to c6, and now b5 by Magnus. This move is evaluated as inaccuracy by the top end, but still, it's, I think, winning here for black, because even if you play the suggested move knight to c5 after something like rook to b6, knight to b3, king to f2, we can also push the pawn here c to c1. But here after move rook to c6 after move b5 that Magnus Carlsen played, now Shakhriyar Mamedyarov made another blunder. He played rook takes a6, but even if you play here rook to c8 going behind this pawn, still we can simply push the pawn further. Look at this, this would be support by the knight, would simply push the pawns further. So still, in my opinion, a messed up game here for white. But unfortunately for Shak, he played rook takes a6 immediately, didn't go behind this pawns with the rook to move rook to c8. Now Magnus pushed the pawn further, and in this position Shakhriyar Mamedyarov resigned. So what's the issue? Of course, if you play rook to c6, will simply promote, you have to take it out, and now there is now this problem of this passer on the b file. So you can maybe advance the pawn to d3. We just play king to b2. You cannot get closer. King to a3, and now we just push the pawn further. It's a messed up game here for white for sure. So great game by Magnus Carlsen. Mr. Armageddon strikes again. He won now every Armageddon game that he played so far in this event. Unfortunately for Magnus, he didn't win any classical time format chess game so far. Let's go back to this critical moment of the game. Rook takes e3. Really stunning, beautiful exchange sacrifice in the middle of the board. A really cool tactics we have seen in this fast time format. Unfortunately for Magnus, as I said, if he would have won at least 1 or 2 games in classical time format chess, he would be maybe even the winner of this tournament. But something is not working out here for him. Maybe his preparation. Also, we know that he didn't play for a while, but still, you see, Magnus is destroying every top GM in fast time format. So still, of course, a respectful performance here by the former world champion. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. Interesting ideas of the English opening for sure. If you want to see more games from this chess event, check out our coverage so far. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.